True. And so, Blessed Mother Teresa, what was the aspect that you were trying to synthesize for us?
Sure. The reason, especially I included Mother Teresa, is sometimes people will hear about this idea of Marian consecration, total consecration to Jesus through Mary, and they say, well, why Mary? I mean, it's taking the focus off Jesus, and they'll think, I just need Jesus. Why bring Mary into the picture? And Mother Teresa gives the most beautiful, I think, of all explanations. A lot of people who read the book think, well, I was still struggling in my devotion to Mary, but when I came to the section on Blessed Mother Teresa, it made sense. And the reason they say that is because Mother Teresa's whole spirituality centers around one mystery, namely the mystery of Jesus on the cross, who said from the cross, as we read in the Gospel of John, I thirst. Not a thirst for water, not a thirst for beer, not a thirst for Coca-Cola. There's a thirst for love. And that Mother Teresa, her whole spirituality is really the heart of the Christian life, is for us to begin to thirst for Jesus as he thirsts for us, to be able to hear his thirst on the cross. And for Mother Teresa, she was actually a mystic, and the reason she founded the Missionaries of Charity was because of a mystical experience she had where she heard Jesus from the cross crying out through the centuries, I thirst, not only on the cross, but in the poorest of the poor. And she said that if it weren't for Our Lady, if it weren't for Mary, she never would have heard that thirst of Jesus. In other words, it was Mary that gave her the courage to come close to the cross, to hear Jesus' words of love, in fact, to heal for love. And so she says in this beautiful letter that she wrote to her Missionaries of Charity, as kind of, with her, and the intention of this letter was to capture the essence of their whole mission and spirituality. She said, in this one beautiful line, she says, the role of Mary is to bring us face to face with the love of the heart of Jesus crucified. In other words, Mary, Christians and Jesus' disciples are often tempted, like as were the disciples, all of whom abandoned Jesus in his passion, right? Remember the agony in the garden, and then when the soldiers came, they all left Jesus, every one of them. But Mother Teresa actually speculates that it was St. John, the beloved disciple, had the courage to come back to the cross, and the only one who did, because of his closeness to Mary. And Mother Teresa says that it's Mary, it's a devotion to Mary that makes us more faithful to Jesus Christ, that makes us more faithful friends of Jesus, when we feel our own crosses, where we don't run away from him.
Yeah.
And Mother Teresa's whole thing is that the Christian life is about loving Jesus Christ to the full. And nobody did that better. No one was more faithful in that love than our Blessed Mother. Nobody loved Jesus more than his mother in terms of human beings. And she wants to teach us how to love Jesus in the same way. And that's the essence of it. And
I'd like to read this one section, if I could, Father, to really give people a taste of what you're talking about.
Sure.
This is part of, and again, the Father's talking about the letter written on March 25th of 1993. It was the Lenten message of Pope John Paul on I Thirst, but then she wrote a reflection on that. Yes, is that right? This is Mother Teresa's words that you put in your book. Here's it, one section. Be careful that all that can block personal contact with the living Jesus. The devil may try to use the hurts of life and sometimes our own mistakes to make you feel it is impossible that Jesus really loves you, is really cleaving to you. This is a danger for all of us, and so sad, because it is completely opposite of what Jesus is really wanting, waiting to tell you. Not only that he loves you, but even more, he longs for you. He misses you when you don't come close. He thirsts for you. He loves you always, even when you don't feel worthy. When not accepted by others, even by yourself sometimes, he is the one who always accepts you. My children, you don't have to be different for Jesus to love you. Only believe you are precious to him. Bring all you are suffering to his feet. Only open your heart to be loved by him as you are, and he will do the rest. You all know in your mind that Jesus loves you, but in this letter, Mother wants to touch your heart instead. And she finally goes on to say a few more things, but one is which is let it become an intimate for each of you, just as for Mother will try to help you understand, but Jesus himself must be the one to say to you, I thirst.
Now that's
Beautiful letter, so beautiful.
beautiful. And that's, I mean, I'm glad you quoted that, because that's really, that gets to the heart of what Mary's all about. She's trying, I'll put it this way, you know, in the everybody has a wound. We all have a wound in our hearts that goes back to original sin. And that wound is basically that when Adam and Eve sinned against God, and then they heard him walking in the garden, they all ran up to him, the two of them ran up to him, jumped in his arms, and asked for forgiveness and mercy, right? Wrong. As soon as they heard him walk in the garden, they hid. And that's a wound that's in all of our hearts. Namely, we have a distorted image of God.
Yes.
Where we fear him, and we're afraid of him, and we don't embrace his mercy. Mm-hmm. And that's just something, as Mother Teresa said in those lines that you gave, this is a danger for all of us. Even Mother Teresa? Yes, for all of us. And what she learned and what she came to discover is that one of the greatest helps, one of the greatest friends, one of the greatest assets or gifts that we have to help us overcome that original wound is Mary. Through her prayers, she wants to teach us to embrace the mercy of Jesus. Through her prayers, through her tenderness, through her goodness, through that motherly love, she wants us to draw close to the pierced heart of Christ, where we discover that mercy. And that's all Mary is. All she wants is for us to discover the love of Jesus, which Satan always tries to get us to doubt, to not believe in, and to run away from. And so Mary is sort of like the one who really battles the ancient serpent, because she fights against his fear by trying to get us to trust in her Son. And it's so beautiful, because God knew that the human beings love mothers. There's a tender spot in every human heart for a mother. And God is, in his full-out effort to try and get these broken creatures to trust in him, gives us this beautiful creature as our mother, Mary, to teach us about his tenderness. And she's the best one to teach us, because she's the perfect mother.
Well, anybody that studied psychology understands that mother and father wounds create different types of wounds, and one of the things the role of a mother is supposed to play in our lives is security. So how appropriate is it then that Mary comes to heal that wound, to make us understand and feel more secure and trustworthy to actually let down the covering that we're covering ourselves with, to become naked without shame once again, to stand fully in the light and love of God.